King, O king, aren't you happy, my friend, that your son is already goated? What's up, guys? Here we are to do a little breakdown and review of chapter 141 of Four Knights of the which is known as the Juice of Yore. It's something else of yore, but I'm not too sure if I can say what it is of yore. But this chapter, it, once again, it's going at that smoother, that buttery, that nice and comfortable pace, but there is a lot of juicy stuff in this chapter. Some characters get reveals of powers we never knew they had. Some characters who do have power reveals get new powers. Of course, there's character work. This chapter has it all. But let's have a ball as we dive into the thrall of chapter 141. Let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. Editing me. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a... Wait. Pencil here. Fun fact, I do happen to have it on me. And clearly keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact. I just hate foul, bro. I don't like foul. I'm sorry. I just don't. Every single time they appear, they're an insult to my intelligence. And I don't have much intelligence to insult. Like, I swear. I only have 5 IQ points left. And every single time foul appears in a chapter, it just drops by 1. It just drops. It just keeps dropping. Like, it is falling faster than me on an airplane. I just don't like foul. The rest of the family, though, once again, slowly but surely growing on me. This is clearly a Sixtus chapter, despite how much I wanted to be a Myrtle chapter. I've already become the token Myrtle apologist. I don't know. It happens. Something about them characters who don't belong or feel like they don't belong and have struggles about it. I really like those types. So Myrtle, he's one of my favorites. Tiore, once again, character who, like, it's not awful, not an insult to my intelligence, not drastically making me weaker every single time I see them like foul, but like, or no, pow. It's not foul. Foul is how I said it, but I believe it's pow. So if I'm going to slander, let me slander appropriately. Pow. Sorry, bucko. I just still don't like you. And then the other 3. I'll admit, someone said their names in the comments. I forgot. And I will keep forgetting. I genuinely, unless they do something, I make no promises to ever remember any of their names. I've already got my go to 3, and the one I don't like. So let's not waste any more time. Let's actually hop into chapter 141. So we open up, and we do get to see, we leave right where we left off. Why is a human leading fairies around? And of course, Myrtle, when being asked this pretty reasonable question, because of course, an outsider looking in, you're like, huh? Because it just doesn't seem like a thing, especially considering, at least, it seems like it's due to Arthur, but maybe this is just post-Holy War thing. A lot of the races are, like, folding back in on themselves. The only place that seems to be an exception is Leonis, which is, of course, one of our major hub grounds. But, like, look at the Demon Village, run by Gother. It's all demons. Even Gother himself is a creation of the demon realm. We have yet to see a single goddess outside Elizabeth and Tristan. And even then, they aren't goddesses. That species has completely isolated themselves, presumably just the celestial realm. Same thing with the demons outside of the demon village. We haven't seen one, like, ever, outside of Melascula and Galland, who were revived for Camelot. So, like, it seems like everything has been folding back in on itself, so I'm not shocked that this mage goes on to be like, what the heck are you doing? A human leading fairies? Are you tweaking, son? And Myrtle naturally goes, let me ask you who you are. What are you doing? And like, Myrtle? Bro. Does he look like someone you want to engage in conversation with? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm all about not judging people by their appearances. I think everybody has a story behind them and they deserve to learn it. But Blanco, who do you think this is? What do you think he's here to do? Do you see what he's doing to the fairy, one of which you were holding, the other which you had captured? Like, dog, really? Really? Like, what do you think they're here for? But we see Myrtle looks on, and the mage introduces himself. All right, then. I am the mage, Kilbon, a servant of Arthur Pendragon, the leader of Camelot. Interesting. I don't know. This only gets me, but, like, interesting that they call him the leader, not the king. I don't know. Something about that, like, feels weird, because I swear this is like the first time he's been referred to as leader. And like, notably, they don't even say a servant of King Arthur Pendragon, the leader of Camelot. King isn't even mentioned. which feels a little bit like an outlier. I swear, every single time we've heard other knights refer to Arthur, it's always been King Arthur, Lord Arthur, Father Arthur, Daddy Arthur. Like, everyone's been calling him with, like, appropriate honorifics and stuff like that. But Kilbon's, like, the first one, unless I'm mistaken, Kilbon's the first one to just be like, Arthur, my goat, my chi, let's tap each other up. Like, are you really on first name basis? Or, I guess, first and last name basis with the leader of Camelot, bro? But speaking of, once again, I'm not the kind of person to say judge a book by its cover, but, like, dude, what are you? Like, notably, we've seen this character before. I always bring it up all the way back in chapter 6. But, like, I'm going to say it, and I know this is going to be a little bit biased, a little bit speciesist. That thing don't look like a human. Like, I'm giving it that kind of voice, because it seems to have that kind of vibe. The vibe of the voice will linger and wiggle into your earlobes, and then make you reconsider the entire state of your life. That's what the voice seems to be. But, like, I actually have no idea what this is. It seems, once again, draconic, or, like, at least reptilian. If not, like, flat-out draconic, at bare minimum reptilian. Which is interesting, because notably, outside of the familiars, every single servant, especially ones that have wielded chaos staffs, are human. Like, from Macduff, to Teniac, to Ironside, to the Weakness Guy, to Pelgar, to Beltripe, everyone's been human. The only person who hasn't been human that we've seen so far are the Chaos Commandments, who were explicitly different, but neither of which were draconic, and Nanashi, who was humanoid enough, but still admittedly a goddess. But once again, this guy, if any of the races he'd be, he looks demonic, which is interesting. Very, very interesting. I don't know, Kilbon. And I'm not sure if that name has any importance in Arthurian mythology. Someone, don't hesitate to tell me. Because apparently he seems to be the new royal mage that has replaced Merlin. So maybe that name is important. Kilbon. I don't know. It's not ringing a bell, and I ain't looking it up. But with it being the case, let me know if Kilbon's important. Because admittedly, Kilbon, they don't really be killing or begonnen. But let's see. Myrtle declares, the guys causing havoc all across Britannia, seeking to eliminate all other races. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm giving Merlin this voice. I think it's to make up for his lackluster performance this chapter. But we see that Kilbon says, "Do not be wary of me. As you can see, it is the other species that defy us. Shouldn't we band together as fellow humans?" Once again, I know it's speciesist. I know we're not going to get all like case, but like, that's not human. If that's human, I'm a fairy. If that's human, Meliodas is a goddess. If that's human, King is a demon. Like, really? Like, maybe it's like a Killer Croc kind of thing from like Batman, where it's like atavism, where like maybe the skin is just mutated and like that's it. Maybe it's a transformation kind of, like they literally don't even have human hands. Like, I think they only have the 3 fingers plus the thumb, which is, once again, it reminds me more of a reptile, that sort of like claw-esque grip. And of course the claws and the genuine scale. I don't know, bro. That's interesting. It says it's human. I wonder. But we see that Myrtle says, "Don't waste my time. You clearly aren't human. And even I'm probably more human than you are." Which probably haunts him. But we see he says, "You're speaking to Myrtle, the first of the 7 children of the Fairy King Harlequin and the Giant Queen Diane." Bro starts repping his set. He's like, "Know who I am. Put respect on my name, even if I am clearly human." But we see that all the other cloaked figures who don't actually speak this chapter, it's very exclusively Kilbon, they're like, "Nani, this is gonna..." They got not 1, but 2 exclamation points. And you know it's serious when it's 2 exclamation points. But we see that Kilbon says, "Oh, what a surprise. The son of 2 legendary sins." And of course, you know, like, yeah, that's probably something you don't want to go tell people. Especially when you don't know their abilities relative to you. Like, notably, Lance can flex all he wants. As he said, "Hey, bro, you can know exactly who I am. Because guess what? You ain't living to tell anybody else. So, Lance, Timothy enough. He can go flex. Flex all you want, Lance. Myrtle, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you probably should. I don't know if you have the right to flex, bucko." The flexing does not seem to be in your territory, dog. Especially when you have 2 hostages. Like, that's the thing. I maybe I would have just played along or kept it pushing or something like that. Because you do have people who can easily be used as leverage against you. Like, a whole baby and seemingly enough, maybe fairy child, or if adult fairy, a weakened adult fairy. So I don't know, Myrtle. Now may have not been the time to be flexing, because you're hostage material. Prime hostage material. Like, sure, they won't fight King and Diane, but they would hypothetically lure King and Diane out if they got you. There's a reason you need to stay hidden, my boy. I'm not sure you want all that. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. But of course, we see that Myrtle just keeps on the business. He's like, tell me what you're here for. This is the holy territory, once a forest ruled by my father, and even now, the entryway to the fairy realm. Once again, Myrtle, why are you yapping so much? Now, admittedly, I do appreciate the yapping here, because this does imply one thing. It kind of makes me think that the fairy trees, or at least the ones that we see, like the one in Benwick, and the one that used to be here, maybe they're kind of like commandments. And if not commandments, like graces. And if like graces, like Horcruxes, as a guy who never read Harry Potter. But like, interesting. Even though the fairy tree, which is what I thought was the entrance to the realm. I thought the mortal realm fairy tree ended up being the entrance to the fairy realm. No, in reality, the fairy realm is just connected to this land. So the question is, what did that make the fairy tree? Or at least the great fairy tree that existed in the mortal realm, and now presumably exists in Benwick, considering this one never regrew. I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder what they mean. Like, are they genuine offspring of the fairy tree? Like, that's the real question. Because we know the Demon King, the supreme deity, they reproduced. Like, presumably reproduced, didn't just create. If they just created Meliodas, Zeldris, and Elizabeth, presumably every demon would be Elizabeth. What did I just call Elizabeth? I feel like I did not call her the right name. But Meliodas, Elizabeth, and Zeldris level. Like, presumably they would all be that way. But no, it appears that the Demon King, the supreme deity, genuinely had kids. And that's why Meliodas, Elizabeth, and Zeldris are so strong. But for the case of the fairy tree, I guess maybe the fairy kings would be considered their kids, I guess. Because we know they're born directly from the fairy tree, but then what does that mean the other fairy trees are? I don't know. Like, I genuinely... Oh, I was wondering, like, wait, what is transpiring? That one's on me, I'm here, my boy. Stop fighting. Don't you dare fight me. There we go. But, like, I genuinely do wonder a little bit there, because the realm is still able to be accessed, even though what I thought was the portal to the realm was burned down. Interesting. Neat stuff. I wonder if there's going to be any further elaboration on that. Or if it's just like, fun little tidbit, the portal is tied to the land, not necessarily the tree itself. And that makes me wonder, is the fairy tree like the demon world? Or the fairy realm like the demon realm, where there are multiple portals everywhere and you just need to stumble across the right one? Like, remember, when we went to the Demon World arc, which I need to make a review on the Demon World arc, because I still have so many mixed opinions on that one. But, like, when we went to the Demon World, they fell through that thing that had numerous different holes. It was essentially a connector to numerous different spatial dimension points that allowed access to the demon realm as a whole. So I wonder if the same case is with the fairy realm. Does Benwick have a portal to the fairy realm? Or do you and can you only enter the fairy realm through the remains of the previous fairy tree? And then on top of that, remember, the original fairy tree isn't in Benwick, isn't here. It's actually underneath the castle of Leonis. I know it's a weird detail that a lot of people forget, and I don't blame you because Nakama never elaborates on it. But, like, the original Fairy King's Forest was buried underneath the remains of Leonis. We learned that in Gother's backstory. Like, that's straight up where it is. I think it's mentioned somewhere else, too. So, I don't know. I wonder what ties the fairy tree actually has to its original, and if they count as the real genuine children, while the kings and the princesses are just, like, creations. Like if I had a biological kid, when I had biological kids, hopefully, but like when I had biological kids, that would be different than like a drawing of mine or a video I make. I don't know, interesting. But once again, I go all the way back to Myrtle. Yapping too much, dude. Why are you telling them this? Like, especially if they didn't know and they didn't ask. Like, why would you tell them this is how you get into the fairy realm? Now they know. Like, presumably, it seemed like the fairy realm was mostly peaceful. Like, no one, as Myrtle had said, it's mostly them harassing Britannia, and not necessarily the fairy realm or anybody from there. So why would you tell them that, bucko? Why would you tell them, this is the entrance to the fairy realm, right here behind me, you see? You see all those different holes? This is where you're at. Why would you do that? Why? You're the elder, like, you, and especially from Myrtle. Like, I could get someone like Tiore making that mistake, or Pal making that mistake, or Zillion. I think that's one of their names. Like, I could get maybe them, because we don't know too much about them, and Tiore's very childish. But, like, Myrtle, you very specifically don't even like humans and fairies interacting. At least, presumably. According to your previous actions. So why would you tell this gaggle of humans, I'm putting that in heavy quotation, humans, why would you tell this gaggle of humans, hey, this is how you get into my home? I don't know, bro. That seems a little bit weird. But we see that Myrtle and Kilbon have a little bit of a stare-off. Neither of them are genuinely willing to be any more forthright than they are, and they seem to be about to enter into battle until a certain somebody floats right on up. Oh, I think I get it. You're after the drug... I said it! No! La droga de oro. It's too late now. La droga de oro, aren't you? You read my mind? How could you? And then we see Myrtle realize, Sixtus! Look at my boy. Look at him looking nice and really. Oh, I love him. Of course, you know why I'm really hyping Sixtus. We haven't gotten to it, but you know why I'm really hyping Sixtus? My boy. My son. He's my eldest son. I'm sorry, Myrtle. I'm a Sixtus apologist now. Myrtle, we're going to kick you out. We're going to kick you out. 1 for Nansians, 2 for Sixtus. We're going to knock you down 2 pegs. You may be the third born. If we're feeling generous, we may just make you 4th. Maybe Powell will be the strongest. But we see that Sixtus has pulled up, flying along. And we see Myrtle naturally ask, did you follow us? Which, of course, I think that, once again, it plays into Myrtle's insecurities. And probably why I like him so much as a character. It's the fact that you know he's trying so hard. He's trying so hard to play that guardian, protector, next level role. And while he may, like, I'm assuming his brain immediately went to, he followed us. He didn't trust me. He must think I can't do it on my own. You know, Sixtus just generally did it out of love and care. But, and he even says, no, just picked up a bad feeling. Which is accurate, he did. But that's the thing. Did you follow us? Myrtle's genuinely concerned about his standing, bro. And that's for good reason. Once again, notably, I always joke that, like, first children are the rough drafts. Like, it's rare. I've met a bunch of different sibling pairs. Usually, the second one is always genetically better. It's rare that the follow-ups are worse than the original. I know that sounds crazy. That sounds crazy to say, but, like, it's just consistent. They're usually taller. They usually have, like, better sensory abilities, like their sense of smell, their sense of sight, their sense of taste is all better. Like, it is sort of rough draft into more final draft kind of thing for kids. And, like, admittedly, I don't fully understand it, but I can understand why Myrtle, being the eldest, is like, no, I don't want you to be surpassed. I don't want you to surpass me. I want you to have to worry about me. It's my job to worry about you. Because it's that worry, right? Like, I still remember some of my family members when they were babies. They're now full-grown adults. It's weird. It's just weird to look at. Like, I remember you fresh out your mama. And now you're paying taxes. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy to see how much time passes and how, like, insecure that would make one. But it makes sense to you, because once again, that's life. Let's see. Are you a fairy? Why isn't this incense working on you? But no, you lack wings. Are you human as well? Sixtus just read your mind, though. Which, at least so far, seems to be a fairy exclusive. Why would you assume he's not a fairy? That's a little bit strange. I wonder. But what I do like about that, I like that Kilbon pokes the nerve, and that immediately gets Sixtus like, because that's one of his biggest insecurities. It's what Tiore mentioned last chapter. Sixtus doesn't like the fact that he's the only one. Well, not the only one, but he doesn't have wings. He doesn't have pointy ears. He doesn't have anything that immediately signifies him as a fairy. And heck, even King got flack for this. Admittedly, it was flack, like, when he was specifically antagonizing Meliodas, so I guess the flack isn't truly valid. But still, remember what Meliodas said? Dude, I knew Gloxinia. He had one of the most gorgeous pair of wings I've ever seen. Where are yours at? But like, he's straight up, he kind of just like fact check King. Like, bro, where's it at? If you really built like that for real, if you truly the Fairy King, where your wings at? And he's going through that same thing. He can't blame it on his giant genes because he's small. He is built like a fairy. But at the same time, he may be built like a fairy, may be able to levitate like a fairy, may have mind reading like a fairy, and we'll see, he has a weapon like a fairy. But in reality, without those signifiers, it's hard to believe that. And being mistaken for human when you probably take so much pride in being what you are, it gets under his skin, and I can understand that. And I respect the fact that it's subtle. It's just one panel. He doesn't say a word, he just... And then he immediately locks in, as he says, your incense isn't reaching me. Or to be exact, I'm dispelling it. Thanks to the silent airflow that I've been conjuring up. So, this is interesting. This is very interesting. I don't think Sixtus has disaster. At least I don't think so. Because he's... Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. We see that he's been using Spirit Sword Maglia. I'm not sure how to say it. Maglia Stira? Maglia Stira? Maglia? I'm not... Once again, I'm totally not sure. But feel free. Once again, I appreciate all your help with pronunciations in the comments. I say things wrong all the time, and I greatly appreciate whenever I'm corrected. Speaking of corrections, did you know that you can become a patron? Sorry, there's no context there. But you can become a patron for as low as $1 a month, or become a member for as low as $3 a month. Take out the 25-minute live reaction to this chapter over on Patreon. And it's on the channel, too. You just gotta become a member. Click the join button right next to the subscribe button. By the way, are you subscribed? But sorry, enough plugging. Did you like the video, by the way? But enough plugging. We see that he uses Spirit Sword Maglia Stira, Form 2 Hummingbird, Quiet Storm. So, this is interesting. At first, in the spoiler discussion, I had mistaken this entirely. I thought, Nani? And I could have sworn from the bottom of my toes that was a Spirit Spear. I thought this was Increase. But no, this is a Spirit Sword. Interesting. Now, we've seen Spirit Swords before. Once, I'm saying once, at least prominently. I think we've seen some fairies use Spirit Swords in the past, in like background parts during the Holy War, and some Holy War images. But I think the only other prominent Spirit Sword, not Spirit Spear wielder, we've seen is Helbram. But then again, I don't think his sword had this many I don't think it did the form thing, which is interesting. I think it was only the blade. So, I'm not sure. Maybe he does have disaster? Because he's able to manipulate the shape of the sword, but at the same time he's not able to manipulate the incense itself, or make it less potent, which seems like it'd be a fundamental property of disaster, and it's why King would be a nightmare to fight against, because any poison you try to use on him, he'd just turn off, and any poison he tries to use on you, he would turn up. So, like, I don't know. Interesting. He has to dispel it through the airflow, which once again also means that he himself, despite being half giant, he very likely is still weak to it. Meaning he still does have innate fairy weaknesses and probably giant weaknesses too. Though admittedly giants don't necessarily have much of a weakness. Like they usually don't. So I guess giant doesn't really come with anything. And to be fair, fairies don't... Notably, now that I think about it, the only species that is implied to have any direct weakness to any other species, or even just particle or part of the world, I think it's legit just demons. I think fairies may have a weakness to steel, but I think that may be the Pokemon fan in me getting that conflated. But, like, I think only demons are, like, weak to light. They're weak to arc particles. Even then, that doesn't really matter half the time. So that's interesting that there is this incense that can be used super effectively on fairies. I wonder if we're going to get that for, like, other species. Like, are demons going to have... Then again, demons should be immune to poison. But are they going to have something, like a certain, like, nightlight that Camelot people could carry around to ward off demons? Are they... What could the goddesses have? Something that absorbs their light or, like, creates darkness? I don't know. It's interesting. But Sixtus is forced to use Quiet Storm, the Form 2 of his Spirit Sword, Hummingbird. And we see Kilbon ain't playing no games. They go, oh, goody ba, goody ba, goody ba, Buster Ice. And they immediately form this massive spear of ice, freezing the very air itself, and launch it straight towards Sixtus.
But you see, like I said, my boy Sixtus, he's loaded.
No, wait, one thing I do want to comment on. Really, buddy? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Brother, you had to drop out a whole 6-line stanza poem for an ice spell? Bucko. But really, for an ice spell, that's what you really had to do for an ice spell. Singular. Gawain at 16 seemed more skilled than you, Kilbon. I'm not sure. Looks like Arthur got a massive... Of course he got a massive downgrade. Like, Merlin was stated to be the greatest mage, and not just Britannia, but like in all of history. But at the same time, oh no. It's like a little bit rough for you, Kilbon. You better level up. But let's see. The ice roars forth, quite literally roaring forth towards Sixtus. And Sixtus is like, I'm sorry, but not really sorry, because I'm too goated for this. Form 1, Maglia Stira. Scorpion Stinger. And I can see why I mistook it more as a spear than a sword. It's because I thought this was like the back half of it. No, this is the sword. So it still feels more spearhead-esque. Like, I don't own a single sword that looks like that, but like that still is a sword. This is the pommel. This is the hilt. This is the... I forget what this is called. But, like, this is a blade. Interesting. I wonder if we're ever going to see him wield it like a sword, though. To be fair, we never see King really wield Chastieful as a spear. Like, I mean, in hand. What I mean. Obviously not, like, just throwing it around. But it'd be interesting. Like, maybe Sixtus is actually, like, a low-key secret monster, demon, beastly incarnation, combination of both. Where he's, like... not just extremely powerful with his magic, but extremely powerful physically. Maybe he's a genuine mixed attacker. Like, if there's one critique I have about King, he's not really a mixed attacker. You take away Chastieful, that man runs out of magic, and he cannot throw hands with you. You take away Bond's magic, he'll throw hands. You take away Mel's magic, he'll throw hands. You take away Escanor's magic, he'll throw... Well, not his magic. Unless he's in the one ultimate, he will not throw hands. But even then, that's technically his magic. But you take away Diane's magic, she'll throw hands. But, like, Merlin and King... I guess, legally speaking, Gother, because Gother doesn't actually hit anybody. Like, once again, that one feat I applied to him in the past through Dreyfus isn't actually even a feat, because that didn't actually happen. So, like, those three, they really ain't heavy hitters. So I wonder if Sixtus is ever going to wield the blade, Maglia Stira, in his own hands. But, of course, we see him smash immediately through the ice construct. And based on how hard he threw Scorpion Stinger, he was aiming to get rid of all of them. But... we see as the rubble settles and the hood comes off, Sixtus is like, pretty nimble on the escape, huh? So, Kilbon and his little arsenal, his little crew, did get up out of there. They did not want smoke. But, once again, I do think Myrtle dropping the location of the entrance to the fairy realm is going to come haunt them later. Something's going to happen to the fairy realm because Myrtle started snitching. I don't know. I feel like that's too easy. It's too easy a layup, and they escape just fine, simply enough unharmed, for them to not use that information. Like, straight up, I'll remember this for later. That's the kind of... it's kind of like in the Telltale games where it goes up in the corner like, so-and-so will remember this. Kilbon will remember this. But we see that Kilbon naturally asked, and not Kilbon, Sixtus naturally asked, pulling the hood up and everything, once again, presumably to hide his human ears. But then again, even his own dad has human ears, so I'm not sure about that one. But he asks, you alright, big bro? And Myrtle says, yes, thank you. And he just, I do find it funny I see lift up Puck, because Puck is still in so much dire straits. I don't think the baby seems to be doing better than even Puck did. And we see that Sixtus realizes, oh, well, we better bring them back to the fairy realm. And we see that Myrtle's like, oh, well, yeah, of course. I need to pop another pill. And we see, speaking of pop pills, that Myrtle brings up, you spoke of the La Droga de Yor earlier, didn't you? Yeah, it came to me when I read the mage's mind. Father told me about it once, but what exactly was it? Oh, you forgot, Myrtle? Your memory's too good, alright? So, what is it? It has the effect of well, actually, before I get into that, like, I wonder if that's like just a unique trait to Sixtus, or do fairies just have really good memory? I mean, I guess it makes sense for how long they have to live. Same thing for giants too. Like, I'm not sure about y'all, but I cannot tell you what I ate for dinner last Tuesday. Like, even if I were to, like, think hard about it and say, I couldn't tell you. Honestly, a majority of my life feels like a blur. Like, even events as, like, recent as a month ago, I can't fully elaborate to you. My memory just isn't that good. But, like, hypothetically, those memories and histories and trainings that I need to live with, like the ability to speak, the ability to do mathematics and stuff like that, those things that I need to live with for maybe at most 100 and something years, if I'm lucky. I guess in fairy terms, like, you gotta remember everything. You have to. Because you're gonna be around for thousands, at least hundreds of years. At least. Not to talk of the thousands that some royal fairies live. And even giants, once again, I think they're the only ones who have not been set an expiration date. Like, I think fairies live upwards of no, they live longer. I think they live like 1,500. I don't remember if giants ever got an expiration date, like the Demon Clan did, like the humans do. So that's interesting. I wonder why Sixtus has good memory. But La Droga de Or, it has the effect of instantly curing any type of disease or curse, even bringing back life that is almost gone. So that's interesting. The main reason this isn't just for the fact that this hypothetically could be used for Myrtle, but note what is said here. It's a holy water, obtainable only by our father, from the hearse flowers growing atop the sacred tree. That is what we call La Droga de Or. So, interesting. The main one that gets me, obviously, it's nice to instantly cure any type of disease. That's something only the most high level of goddess healers can do. Like, only Elizabeth is implied to do it. Even Tristan, who was a pretty proficient healer by the time of Cursed by Light, and especially by the modern series, or at least Part 1, 4 Nights, he implies that he still can't heal sicknesses, despite being extremely proficient as a healer himself. And curses are obviously nice, but you do have absolute cancel. But the main thing that's interesting, even bringing back life that is almost gone. Intriguing. And this seems to be just a thing the Fairy King can and has to do. So my question is, Galaxinia, my boy, why didn't you go do that? Like, why didn't you go get it yourself? At least for, like, your sister, for Elaine? Not Elaine, for Gerharde. Remember, the main reason Galaxinia started tweaking so hard, he had to get repose put into him by Zeldris. Once again, that's sort of my headcanon. We don't actually know when, Droll chose. We know Droll's choice. He ended up choosing to join the Commandments when Zeldris beat him. It was Diane running away that broke her out of the time loop because it was such a fundamentally different choice than what Droll made in that moment. But, like, Galaxinia, I always headcanon that it was Zeldris that stopped Galaxia on his rampage, just because the timelines line up really, really nice, and it's presumable considering not long after the Holy War ends, and obviously Galaxinia becomes a commandment before the Holy War ends. But, like, remember, the main reason Galaxinia was tweaking was because his sister was seemingly almost gone. But I'm pretty sure she was still speaking. Galaxy, if you had access to this La Droga de Or, why didn't you just go get that and give it to your sister? I don't know. Interesting. I'm assuming this may be something new. This is something that only King has recently realized. Because once again, we really don't know the connection between the Fairy King and the tree itself. Like, they're unlike the other deities. The tree doesn't speak, doesn't talk, doesn't seem to be sentient. Well, sentient enough. It makes sentient creatures. But, like, we don't know enough about it and how it operates and how it functions for us to, like, genuinely get a grasp on what would happen or how it communicates with the kings and, like, their responsibilities. Is it, like, built into the kings? Do they know this automatically, or do they learn from it? Do they speak from it? In the, basically, fanfiction I'm writing, What If Elizabeth Betrayed the Goddess Clan? It isn't released yet, but I have Galaxinia speak to the fairy tree, and only he can hear it, because, he's the king and all. But I'm not sure if that's similar for actual king, or not. I don't know. But we see that Myrtle immediately thinks, La Droga de Or. Maybe that's what my body needs the most. But we see, I do feel so bad, because even Sixtus, this isn't just us reading Myrtle's mind. Sixtus is reading Myrtle's mind. And Sixtus doesn't comment, because he knows it's not going to work. Because remember, Myrtle isn't actually afflicted by a disease or a curse, and he's not even near out of life. He's just not a fairy. Meaning, his body wouldn't benefit from La Droga de Or. It's probably why King hasn't given it to him. Or if he may have tried. He may have tried sneaking La Droga de Or, but saw the problems kept persisting. Meaning that Myrtle himself is just human. And I think Sixtus, and probably a lot of the other siblings, know that. And it's why he doesn't comment. Once again, the tragedy of Myrtle, bro. Don't sleep on my boy. He's a good character. Admittedly, I do feel bad for him. Don't get me wrong. I do love Sixtus hype. I think that's fantastic. But at the same time, I am kind of sad. I thought it really was going to be a Myrtle chapter, but it ended up being more a Sixtus chapter. But you take what you can get, you lose what you can't get. But we see that Big Mama Diane says, "Okay, everybody, time for our long-awaited lunch." And man, once again, bro, Mama Diane, bro. I know I've seen, admittedly not too much my own comment section, shockingly. I've seen the comments about Mama Diane. I know what you people call her. It's a 4-letter word that ends with ilf and starts with mm. But like, that aside, I am just happy that she's getting to genuinely be a mom and seems happy for it. Like, look at how happy she is dealing with. Ugh. But like, look how happy she is dealing with her family, her kids, bro. "Oh, now, what would you like today?" And we see all of them go in different directions. The Diane copycat says, "Grilled wood boar." And Diane, once again, a known carnivore, is like, "Good idea." And then we see, I don't know. I'm not sure which one is Zillion and which one is Zana. I think those are their names. I'm just gonna, next review, I'm just gonna have their names pulled up. I'm not even gonna bother anymore. But I believe this one's Zillion, or this one's Zillion, and this one's Zana, or that one's Zana. But they bring up, "I'd like me some mutilator rabbits too." What is mutilator rabbit? What kind of... What? We've seen rabbits before in 7 Deadly Sins. Are those mutilator rabbits? Like, I'm thinking of a very specific game. I think they're blue. Like, I think I've seen mutilator rabbit before. But I don't know. Something about that. Mutilator rabbits? Were they ever called that before? I feel like I remember that. But then we see that I think the third oldest sibling's being a little bit speciesist, as he says, "You giants sure are carnivores, you know that? I'm fine with some fruit." You giants? Buckle, you're half giant. Like, I get it. You got more of your daddy in you than your mom. But, bro, you're half giant. And presumably you're all omnivores. Like, I don't think fairies are exclusively vegetarian or anything like that. I don't think they're herbivores. But, like, dude. You giant. You people. Like Myrtle. What do you... Not Myrtle. Whatever your name is. I'm not looking it up. You're not that important. But, like, whatever your name is. Really? You people. You giants. Chill out, bro. That's your family. It's like me turning to one of my own family members and being like, "Oh, you individual who I also am, you're whack." Like, no, come on now. And we see Pal go, "I want both, Mom. I want both." Or, "I want both, Mom. I want both." Or, remove them from the series. If we have to sack one Cayenne kid, it can be Pal. Now. Please. I need Nakaba, do it. Do it. I'm begging you, bro. Like, I haven't felt a natural yet unjustified dislike for a character this strong since Panda. Actually, no, but here's the thing. I can justify my Panda dislike. I haven't done it in full yet. I've hinted at a lot of the reasons why I don't like Panda. But, like, I don't know. Pal, it's just their design. It's like an insult to my eyes. Like, actual insult to vision. But we see that Diane notices, "Oh, you're back, Tiore. Wasn't Nansians with you earlier?" And we see Tiore, fresh out the bath, says, "Oh, hey, Mom." What, like, why are you shocked? You were walking up towards her, presumably. But we see Tiore says, "Noxie's off to the Tunnel of Whispers again. All alone." And we see her older brother says, "He sure is devoted, isn't he?" And then I believe Zana says, "What's up with you? You look kind of down." And Tiore says, "Oh, no, nothing like that." I don't know why she is, though. Interesting. Maybe I'm missing something with Shiori because I just don't like her base personality. That's interesting. And notably, Diane even seems to notice that something's up, as she has the 3 ellipses, or not the 3 ellipses, the 3 dots, which aren't ellipses. Interesting. Wonder what I missed. But with it being the case, we see back in the Tunnel of Whispers, Nansians, he starts to have what everybody has eventually, that existential crisis. Admittedly, not over this because we aren't like fairies, but still, am I a man or a woman? I've wondered it to myself, and now I suddenly have an answer, along with another truth that's even more important. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's fully dawned on me yet. Apparently I'm not human at all, but part of the fairy clan. Can you believe that? But I'm sure you just smile and say, "Oh, was that what that was?" Like it's nothing personal. But it's true. Human or fairy, I'm still me in the end. It just means that the parents who abandoned me are fairies now. Don't be so sure about that. But before we get into that, that's nice. I do like that Nansian's, he doesn't have like a full deep existential crisis about his fairyhood. He just accepts it. It's just the truth of what he is. And he moves on with that. And that's how I think most people should be. If you ever find yourself discovering a new aspect of yourself, depends. I say depends because there are some dark things. But like, be willing to accept yourself. You are simultaneously, you can be your biggest ally and you always should be. But at the same time, you can be your own worst enemy. Especially for humans. We think a lot. And that gets in our way a lot of the time. Overthinking, overcomplicating things. That leads to a whole lot of trouble. So if you find yourself developing a new understanding, new thoughts, new ideas that you never had before, think about them. Reflect on them. Accept them. But don't let it consume you negatively. Be like Nansians. Learn to love yourself. But with it being the case, don't be so sure about that. And none other than the Drippy King himself shows up. Look at the steppers. Look at the pants. Look at the button up. Look at the loose open pop collar. I'm partial to the pop collar myself. The wings to come over. He saw him. As Nansian says, Fairy King? More like Drippy King. Dad, why do you look so saucy? Why do you look so saucy with it? He's so, honestly, next to King Meliodas, drippiest design. I know the Bond fans are gonna be like, what? But no. This king right here, it might as well be an ocean. I like King Meliodas so much because I love the puffy collar, and I love, once again, I prefer it in black and white. I kind of don't like blue King Mel, but like, I do love King Mel, but King, he's a close second. He's a real close second. Honestly, overall, pound for pound, his design may be more preferable to me as a whole. Everything goes together so nicely. Meanwhile, current King Mel has that ugly behind striped tie, so I may not be able to knock it. King may be him. But with it being the case, Nansian's like, Fairy King. And we see King say, since I lost you, perhaps I've been unconsciously searching for you this whole time. So yeah. If you couldn't tell, if you couldn't read the room, Nansian's is King's kid. Once again, maybe this is Nakaba red herring. Whoa. Pulling a mean case of red herring. Like, beating us over the head with it. Only to be like, nope, Nansian's is a random fairy kid. But like, from Myrtle being human, to Nansian's and all of his abilities, to the appearance being relative to King and Diane, to everything. Like, I seriously would be shocked if he wasn't King and Diane's kid. At that point, I'd wonder why red herring so much. But at the same time, I do like that King fully admits, like, he loves Myrtle. He cares about Myrtle deeply. He's willing to do everything he did for Myrtle for likely the past 18 years, presumably. But innately, from his core, he still wanted his kid. Like, King, especially, someone who was waiting so long for an experience like this, presumably. So long to be married to Diane, to be a proper king, to have kids. To have your firstborn stolen away by one of your own people and replaced with a species you are not, like, a negative to. It's not like King hates humans or anything like that. But, like, a species that isn't yours, isn't the product of this long-awaited love that you've been waiting for multiple centuries. It's gotta haunt him. And I like that he admits that. He's been unconsciously searching for him this whole time, even though he did have a son. He had a firstborn. He had Myrtle. But even still, in his heart of hearts, he really, really, really wanted Nansian's. He wanted his first kid back. And that is so... It's bittersweet, right? It's bittersweet. Because obviously this is going to have massive negative effects on Myrtle. Especially once it properly comes out. Because once again, this is a soft confirmation. King doesn't explicitly say, you're my kid now. Boogie woogie woogie. He doesn't say that. But it's so heavily implied that you know Myrtle, he's going to lose it, bro. He's going to lose it. It's going to be so rough. The character conflict is so confusing. But we see Nansian says, okay. Oh, wait, no. I want to talk about this. Sorry, I couldn't help but follow you. I saw you coming here during my walk. King, why do you walk? Buckle, you can fly with your wings and magic. Why do you walk? I don't know. That seems so... Gotta stay in shape somehow, I guess. But that's interesting. Because he is generally stepping. He's not floating here. He is just generally walking around. Interesting. That's very neat. But we see that King immediately takes that back. Meaning he may not even walk. As he says, no, sorry, that's a lie. I just wanted to help you out in any way that I could. So, once again, he's not outright saying it. He low-key did. But he's not outright saying it. He's like, you're my kid. I want to help out my kid the best I can. So let me help you out, kid. I like that. And we see that Nansian's like, okay. And Kingo goes on to say, Nansians, I believe you said that Percival was a life spirit, correct? That he disappeared out of the fear that he brought, that he would bring disaster to those around him. Well, I can inform you about something. Because yes, I, King, now have so much information. But then again, I guess he did know about the access to the capital of the dead. So I guess he always has had some of the most connections with spirits. And as he reveals, spirits and fairies are pretty close. But King gives us a whole little world building monologue. I'm going to hit through all of this because there are multiple things I want to talk about, but I do want to hit it in full flow. If he perished as a human, his soul would have gone to the city of the dead, or remained where it was. But as a spirit, his fate takes a wholly different turn. Spirits, you see, provide the essence to all things. Fire spirits are found within fire, and wind spirits can be wherever the wind blows. Life spirits, on the other hand, are worldwide. They exist within all races, all animals, and all plants. So you mean? Yes. Right now, even where we stand, are a floating, vast, countless number of spirits. Can you see them, Fairy King? Faintly, yes. Fairies and spirits always were closely related, although spirits are closer to that essence, that power. But the life spirits you'll find here, I'm not sure they belong to the friend you knew or not. Percival! Is my voice reaching you? I'm right here, so please! Nansians. King hits him with the Nansians. Ever since I discovered what that was, I can't stop now. But, talking into my heart? Do you know why they call this the Tunnel of Whispers? It's because it's a quiet place where fairies can easily gather. Keep quiet and you can hear them. The whispers of the spirits. And we see Nansians realize, Percival, I've been waiting for you to come back, and I'll keep waiting. Though we see, King puts a hand on Nansians' shoulder, and mentally declares, there's something I want to give you later. Call it a gift from me. I swear, if Nansians gets a spirit sword before Lance does, I'm gonna lose my left big toe. Not really. I need my left big toe for equilibrium. I'm gonna hock a loogie or something. Gosh darn, but still. Alright. So this, once again, like I mentioned, there's a lot of juicy lore packed in here. Number one, King, he knows mad stuff about spirit. Like, legitimately. He knows a whole lot. And that's an interesting facet for humans. It genuinely makes me wonder, what is the cycle of reincarnation here? What is it? For humans in particular. Because we don't get any specification for the other races. King specifically mentions humans. Their soul would just stay where it is? So what is the reincarnation cycle? And what happened to purgatory? Do things just not go there anymore? Does King just not know about that? Like, I don't know. It seems interesting that human souls would just stay where they are. You think if that were the case, like, the demons would have just been able to slurp up souls from everywhere. They wouldn't have to eat active people because the souls would still be lying around. And two, I do like the capital of the dead is mentioned. It is properly mentioned here. Though once again, its purpose as like a heaven-esque realm, I'm still not entirely sure about. Especially considering we don't even tackle reincarnation here. Which is very interesting because we know reincarnation is a part of the world. Maybe it's not for humans, I guess? Maybe, kind of, sort of? I don't know. It's weird. And at the same time, it's interesting. So the spirits aren't just... So I thought maybe it was backwards. I thought maybe out of fire you could create / or summon a spirit, or out of wind you could create / summon a spirit. But no, it's these spirits that power the world itself. Very interesting. Crazy how these things weren't mentioned intimately since the prequel, but okay, we'll let it slide. That makes me wonder then, what kind of spirits exist in the purgatory fire? What kind of spirits exist inside the sacred treasures, or chastiful, or anything that produces massive amounts of energy? How many life spirits exist inside King? Are they fuel? Like, what are the roles of life spirits when they're not explicitly sentient? Because that's the thing about Percival, right? Percival was uniquely sentient. Like, he was a life spirit that was tricked into becoming a human. But, like, what what do life spirits do outside of that? Are they actually conscious? We know Zaza was conscious, somewhat, and we know that the other Percival start to become conscious, but is that a byproduct of Percival, or is that what they all do? Do all the spirits, especially the ones that we see floating around here, do they have thoughts? Individuality? I don't know. And that's interesting. Once again, adding more lore. And the other thing I do like to touch on, I guess King can just use telepathy now. Neat. I'm not mad at it. It just seems straight. I didn't know he could do that. I didn't know we could do that on my John Mulaney side. I just generally didn't know. But still, W chapter. Once again, a fat chunk of lore, which will probably end up playing into Percival's revival soon. I think we have like a 50-50 shot of cutting away next chapter. I'm not sure. But I don't think so. I think we are going to see the gift that Nansian is going to get. I do like the characterization of Nansian accepting who he is. He as an individual, which is fantastic. I like King finally not just admitting that he was looking for Nansians, but actually getting an interaction with Nansians one-on-one is fantastic. I like seeing Diane be happy mama. I hope she still does more, though. Just a little bit more. Like, whether it be interacting with her actual real son or child, or we see more of this Tiori worry plotline, which Diane herself seems to acknowledge. And also, I like seeing Sixtus and Myrtle's dynamic, and seeing Sixtus's own thoughts about Myrtle, and at least having them implied here. And of course, I love me a new spirit weapon. Honestly, they're the best weapons in the series. Better than any of the other sacred treasures. The spirit swords, and the spirit spears. They're just beautiful. Best designs, best abilities overall. So I'm happy to see that too. Overall, a really, really, really W chapter. And there's no weird stuff, so it's got to be worthy. But now, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave Spirit Sword. I know I did Spirit Spear last time, but Spirit Sword. Shake it up a little bit. But, with that being the case, leave Spirit Sword in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do happen to have a Patreon below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. You get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include a 25-minute live reaction to this very chapter, along with ad-free variations of all my videos. And if you become a $25 patron or a $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Now, to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dad with a Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Connor Plays, Greyhound, Kids Void, Astro, Red Wolf 4765, and Eternal Flame. I'd like to give another thank you to our $5 patrons, Victor, Steron, Sean, RNG Master, Midnight Lord 21, Metal Solid Crisis, Kevin, Igneo, and EHAC1. And I'd like to give a gargantuan thank you to our $7 members, Autumn Mornings Lazo and Jan Tomaz. And I'd like to give another juicy old thank you to our $10 member, Jay Warrior. I'd like to give a gargantuan thank you to our two $10 patrons, Joaquin and Idemokami. And I'd like to give another sloppy thank you to our thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. And I'd like to give a juicy gargantuan thank you to our $25 patron, Winter. Another fantastic next level thank you to our $25 patron, China Doll 09, and a final gargantuan thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.